guys, what's up? Today we're going to be making some of the best frozen Kong recipes for dogs. So let's say your dog is pretty new to Kongs. Maybe they haven't had one before, they haven't had one that's very difficult. A good place to start is to take your Kong and just put, I need a spoon I guess, is to take your Kong, get some canned dog food or some peanut butter. A single ingredient is fine here. Put it in the Kong just a little bit, like so that it's nice and loose. It's easy for the dog to get out of the Kong. There's not a whole lot of challenge involved. One of the biggest things we have to remember is that when we give our dog a new puzzle, they have to build some confidence with it first. So when I give this to my dog for the first time, I want to make sure it's easy enough that they can have some success and feel good about that puzzle. So this would be a really great place to start. So the easier levels of Kongs typically take obviously less time. They might take your dog anywhere from 5 minutes to 10 minutes if they're brand new with Kongs. Some of them get them done really, really fast. Let's say your dog has a little bit more experience with Kongs and they need a little bit more of a challenge, or maybe they need something a little bit more interesting. I like to vary what I put in my Kongs all the time so that my dogs have a different experience every time they do that puzzle. So they're not eating the same thing all the time. I probably wouldn't be very happy if I ate a cheeseburger every day, so I want to make sure my dogs get a varied diet too. So for this one, we're going to use a couple bananas, some unsweetened Greek yogurt. The reason for that being we don't want to add too much sugar to this recipe. And then we're using some creamy peanut butter. When you use your peanut butter, you just want to make sure there's no xylitol in it. This is really, really toxic for dogs, so I like to use limited ingredient peanut butter whenever possible. So the first thing we have to do is kind of pop all this stuff into the food processor so we can get it nice and smooth, so we get a nice liquid to put in the Kongs. There we go. So now we're going to be taking a little bit of a bigger Kong. Kong has several different sizes, several different durabilities. The black ones are the most durable, and I have the large size for Nia. She's about 35, 36 pounds, whereas the one we stuffed before was for Chester, who's 20 pounds, 22 pounds. So that one's a smaller one. So when I'm stuffing this bigger one for Nia, I'm gonna make this one a little bit more challenging. Nia likes a little bit more of a challenge in her Kongs. So I'm gonna take my blender blade out, kind of get all the extra good stuff off of there. And then I'm gonna take some of this mixture and I'm gonna scoop it into the Kong. This is kind of a messy process, so bear with me. There we go. Now, since Nia is a little bit better at Kongs, I'm gonna make this just a little bit more challenging. I'm gonna layer it with some dry ingredients, but I'm not really gonna like push it down or make it terribly difficult. I just wanna put some additional things in there. So I'm adding a few little cookies, nothing special, just some biscuits. They go well with the peanut butter banana yogurt mixture. Whereas like kibble's a little weird, sticking meat in with all that stuff. Just seems a little weird to me. So I'm gonna cram it in there just a little bit, put some more wet on top, get it in there, gross, there we go. And then for the finishing touch, stick a little biscuit bone on the top. There we go. The one that we filled with the banana and the yogurt and the peanut butter, that one's a little bit harder, so you might find that it takes your dog a little bit longer, maybe 10 to 15 minutes. All right, so now we're gonna talk about one of our last recipes. This is kind of my go-to recipe for my dogs. Sometimes I use Kongs as meal replacements for them. So I might take some raw food. This is from the company Northwest Naturals. This one's the turkey variety. So I thawed some of those to stuff in here. I'm gonna layer it with some kibble as well so that my dogs can have a nice balanced meal and it won't be crazy high in calories or sweets. So I'm gonna start by adding just a little bit of my dog's kibble. Just maybe a couple tablespoons, nothing crazy. Then I'm gonna take some of these raw nuggets and I'm gonna put them in there with my fingers, kind of mash them in. And I like to do lots of these. I like to do, like I said, layers. I'm doing dry, wet, and I'm kind of pushing these in so that it kind of glues everything together. It acts as cement almost. Get it in there. And I'll put a layer of crumbled up biscuits too. Why not? Let's make it fun. And you will notice I'm using my fingers a lot in this, but you can use a spoon, you can use whatever makes you most comfortable. Just know when you're handling raw meat like this, you want to make sure that you clean your hands afterward and don't touch anything, because it has the same risks as if you're working with raw meat for human food, because it's the same thing. I'm really packing it in there because my dogs are Kong experts and they need a little bit more of a challenge. Perfect, cram some more kibble in there. And then that finishing touch, we'll do a little bone biscuit. Nice, there we go. Pretty. The one that I just stuffed, if I stuff it like that and I don't freeze it, it might take my dog about a half an hour, versus if I do freeze it, it'll take my dog around, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour, which is super nice. It gives me a lot of downtime. I can read a book, I can play some video games, I can spend some time with my husband, and my dog is perfectly content to lick out the contents of their Kong. My dogs get tired of just Kongs, just like they get tired of the same filling over and over. They don't want to do the same puzzle over and over. So I've bought a different variety of enrichment toys to stuff. So right here, I have the West Paw. You stuff it the same way. I like to just stuff the raw meat nuggets in here because they go in nicely. It takes quite some time for my dogs to go through these, usually around an hour. And they tend to like these a lot more. They get more excited about these because they're a little bit more novel. I have like 10 Kongs and they love them, but anytime I pull out something new, it's especially exciting. So here's our finished product. I've stuffed this with a bunch of raw meat nuggets. Perfect. So this is another kind of enrichment toy that I can stuff and freeze if I would like to. This is called a licky mat. Licky mats do come in a variety of different styles, different textures, different surfaces. They have a whole line of products that are amazing. But what I do with this is I'm gonna take some canned dog food, very, very simple, not gonna make it too challenging. There we go. This is the finished product of our first licky mat. Looks great, delicious. All right, so for this one, for our licky bowl, same concept as the licky mat, just a little bit of a different vessel. I'm gonna take some of this banana peanut butter yogurt mixture, put it here on the bottom, and just spread it out all the way around the bowl. Tasty. So for our easy Kong, we took just a little bit of wet canned food and we put a couple spoonfuls in there, and then we stuck a biscuit here in the top. Really, really easy because the dogs don't have much to work for. There's just a little bit of stuff in there for them to find. This one is our medium difficulty. I layered it a little bit with some wet ingredients. I did that banana peanut butter yogurt mixture with some kibble and biscuits layered in there as well. But I didn't really pack it in there. I kind of kept everything as loose as I could. Whereas for the hardest version of the Kong, I crammed everything in there about as hard as I could. I wanted every layer to act like packed cement. So I did a layer of kibble, then packed some raw meat, then packed some biscuits and some more raw meat, and I took a spoon and I took my fingers and I crammed it all in there as much as I could so that it is extra difficult for those dogs that are Kong experts or are super food motivated and are happy to work for that puzzle. And then of course I did some specialty options. These are on the harder side, especially if I do freeze them. I packed them pretty tight. No, I didn't layer in any dry ingredients, but because these openings are so much smaller, this makes it a little bit more difficult for our dogs. And then I did a couple of licky mats as well, which I will freeze for a little bit of extra longevity. It'll be great. So now that you're all done with your Kongs, you can take them and you can stick them in the freezer to make them a little bit more difficult. For those Kongs that we stuffed like this one that were crammed in with all those layers, when you freeze them, it really cements all of those layers in place. This is what doubles the length of time that your dog can spend doing this puzzle. I mean, if I don't freeze this, Nia can take maybe 20, 30 minutes, whereas if I do freeze this, she'll spend upwards of an hour to finish this puzzle, which, like I said, is just so great to give me a little bit of break if I need one. And now for my dog's favorite part, the cleanup of it all. Some of the best frozen Kong recipes for dogs, all the way from beginner to advanced. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, where you can find more tips and tricks to help you strengthen and energize the relationship between you and your dog. Bye for now.